Hi everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the second option you can do for your mindful doodles. There are going to be a lot of other options, but this is the other video. I'll be using my gouache set, which is just like a thicker watercolor. You can use any color materials, but think about what color combinations you want to use. So you could do a dark green or a light green and pair it with some yellow and another green, or do all purples and blues, or combine totally opposite colors like maybe red and green too. It's really up to you and what kind of aesthetic you like. I like to look at my palette and see what colors are already near each other, and then you get an idea of what it'll look like when it's on your sheet of paper. So if you are going to use paint of any kind, make sure you have a palette. I am gross and don't wash mine all the time. I should probably work on that, but it's fine. It's water soluble, so I can always reuse gouache. You can't do that with some paints as easily, so make sure you are familiar with the type of material you want to use. Next, make sure you have the brushes that you are comfortable working with. If you're able to have a variety of sizes, that'd be great. If you're using any other color materials, I'm sure you picked one you're comfortable with, so do what works for you. I'm just showing you some of the different sizes and styles I have. Even though I have a lot with me, I usually just use one or two, but I do like to have the options. And then finally, you will need water if you're using a type of paint where you'll need a lot of water. Just make sure you have a good amount so your colored water doesn't affect the colors of your paint. So I'm taking a look at my palette just to think about what color I want to start with. And of course, I'm starting with my favorite color. Because gouache is water soluble, I'm able to kind of loosen this up again, although it won't be as pigmented as it was before. I would have to add more paint if I wanted it to look opaque and more acrylic-like. But I'm not really going for that look, so I kind of like the watercolor look despite using gouache. But I'm just loading up my brush with the color, and then when you're doing this style of doodling, we're just focusing on colors and shapes and how all of those come together. So your first stroke can be in the center of your whole page or spread, or even in the corner. Just start anywhere and draw something familiar to you. So I did a circular shape just to get something on the page, because the blank page can be really daunting. It can be really scary, intimidating. So do something familiar first. Circle some wavy lines, and then from there you can play around. Here I'm just adding some more pigment to it. Because I'm doing a wet on wet technique, it's going to dry a little differently, but nothing wrong with that. Now that I have my circle that is a little cut off, I'm going to go in and start drawing around it. And there's really no perfect way to do this. You're just playing around with lines, shapes, and colors. So I decided, instead of working in different sections of my spread, I'm just going to work right next to it. So I took the same color, drew a border, and played around with some dots. I guess more like dash lines, but you can play around with different sizes of shapes, maybe geometric shapes if you prefer that look. I personally like rounded and soft things, or soft shapes, so that's what I'm going to go for. If you are painting, make sure you have something to dab color and water off, so a paper towel or a little rag that you're okay with getting paint on, and play some music, put something on in the background, or enjoy the silence as you're just adding different things to your sheet of paper while following your chosen creative hack. I'll be speeding up a lot of my painting so you don't have to watch me painfully and slowly paint little circles and lines and stuff, but I just want you to pay attention to just how I am changing up the sizes between these different shapes when I add contrast, so having a light color next to a dark color. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Your goal is to just use this as a tool to relax while creating. So if abstract just isn't your thing, look at the other options. But if you are open to trying this process out and going with the flow and just seeing what your brain and hand create, be patient with the process. And it's also okay to just try this out, see if you like it, and either try again while knowing the new information you know, or moving on and trying something else. You can totally add pen to this and maybe draw on top of the shapes that you created. It's up to you. But for those of you who are going to do something like me, where you include a lot of different colors, make sure you include those colors in more than one place. Colors want to belong together. They want to fit in, they want to be a family, but the only way to do that is by making sure it's in different spots of the page or of your canvas. If you only have one color in one area, it's going to stand out and it won't look as cohesive. So just make sure you are having colors in at least two different places, if not more. You are also more than welcome to mix some colors. You can play around with it. What I wouldn't do is mix colors that are opposite on the color wheel because you usually get a very dark color. It can look brownish depending on if you're using like a dark red and a dark green and stuff like that. But have a separate sheet of paper beside you to just test out the colors that you make. There's also nothing wrong with using the colors that your paint come with. If you're struggling with um, trying to fill your whole page, try turning your paper. You don't have to keep it at a certain orientation, move it around, change the angle. And while you're painting, you can also outline your shapes like I'm doing here and then fill it in, or just do a big slab of paint and then move it around to create a separate shape. Something else to keep in mind is changing the way you're holding the brush sometimes so you can get thinner or thicker lines. You can also work with pressure stuff, but for gouache, it's usually the same look since the paint can be really thick or really thin depending on the water rather than the pressure. But if you're using a different medium, you might want to try that out. I won't make you watch every single shape I make because the video will get too long since I am going to fill up the whole entire spread all the way to the edges. If you want to stop before the edges on your own work, you totally can. You can create a really cool shape from that. But I will include a photo of the final results at the end of this video. After lots of work, here are the final results. The creative hack that I focused on was just working in little spurts and also consuming art. So watching stuff, looking at different things that I like. I didn't really pull inspiration from those things, but by listening to a show or music, I kind of let the rhythm and the tone help me figure out what kind of shapes and lines I wanted to make. Some things that I would do differently is my color choices. I actually don't like some of the reds in it. I think they look too gray compared to other colors. And I wish I used more yellows in the bright green because I think that combination is really pretty. But you won't know what you like and what you don't like unless you take the time to try new things, to explore. So I hope you enjoy the process, and it's okay if you end up not liking things because now you know. Um, so I really hope you find some calm and joy from either this doodle activity or any of the other ones you try out.